What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with my final review for this weekend. Yeah, very slow weekend. There was only 2 albums I was interested in checking out, and here I am talking about the last of the 2. I talked about the Purple yesterday, and now I'm talking about this, and I am talking about the latest offering from Ceremony of Silence with HALIOS. Also came out on July 19th, this time on Willowtip Records. And, well, I never heard of this band until going through the metal archives and discovered this is a Slovakian-based blackened death metal band, although I would also argue they're very much dissonant death metal as well. So when I was looking at their archives page and I saw the bands that they were compared to, I'm like, yeah, this should be rather interesting to say the very least. And interesting it was. As, yeah, this is just some evil, cavernous, blackened death metal with a shit ton of dissonance. And you get that right out of the gate with the opening track, Primeval Sacrifice. Gnarly dissonance, but with an awesome triplet chug to go along with it. And anytime I hear, like, dissonance and triplet chugs kind of coming together, it's like, oh, it's so lovely to hear to my rather fucked up ears. But then it turns into more of a blast beat fest, but with some dark melodies on top to kind of change things up. And then some of the tremolo riffs, it's like the tremolo riffs, not only on this track, but I would say across the board on the entire album, kind of alternate between feeling more like low-end tremolos like death metal or high-end tremolos like in black metal. And there's even a couple of moments on the album when the rhythms kind of get a little bit more towards the thrash end of the scale, like playing like the Slayer beat or something like that, but done with this chaotic, evil, dissonant playing that's happening on top of the rhythms. And then this track, and there's really only a couple of songs on this album, and it's really the first 2 tracks, Primeval Sacrifice and Serpent Slayer, where you get some leads, or at least lead melodies. And the lead melodies here on Primeval Sacrifice felt more atmospheric, whereas in Serpent Slayer, a little more shred, but there's some evil melody on top. And speaking of Serpent Slayer, this song, as well as a later track of the album, Perennial Incantation, I couldn't help but pick up on like a techno, industrial drum tone at times. I don't know if that was intentional or if it was just something that happened in the recording, mixing, or mastering, what have you. But yeah, those 2 songs, there are moments where you hear like almost techno industrial drum tones. But with Serpent Slayer, after that happens, there's a lot of low end on this song before it turns rather chaotic and into high end tremolos, and there's even some gallops going on with this track. And then this track kind of introduces another big component of the album, and that's the drum accents, particularly on the cymbals. Like, the way this drummer is accenting with the cymbals when it's needed is pretty tasty. It almost kind of gave me slight nods to a drummer like Jamie St. Murray from Ulcerate, and I will say there's quite a bit of an Ulcerate influence on this album, like in terms of the dissonance and the chaos, but it's not solely just Ulcerate. Like, hell, in the following track, Moon Vessel, yeah, it starts off dissonant and doomy, kind of like a slow Ulcerate passage, but then it just turns into absolute chaos, almost like Portal. And Portal is another band that I would probably compare Ceremony of Silence to some degree. And hell, there's even a jazz moment on this track. And then you get to the middle track of the album, which is the shortest track at like 2.5 minutes, Eternal Return. Felt kind of more like an interlude that was not really needed. It was just like clean, dissonant melodies and like a moody, murky ambience to it. I feel like they could have just cut that song out, and I think it would have helped this a little bit more. But then you get into Light Runs Through Light, kind of a redundant title. There's some groove. Like, there's actually some groove that starts this track off, but with nasty tremolos, and then you get some more chugs, angular dissonant riffs on top of blast beats, and even some notable bass work. Like, even the bass on the entire album, it's like you can pick out little bass noodles or bass flourishes every once in a while. And then in this track, there's even a doomy break, kind of like immolation a little bit, before you get back into triplet chugs, and then more triplet chugs towards the end of Perennial Incantation, the following track. But this one goes for more blazing speed with the tremolos and blasts, almost like Behemoth, I would say. And there were a few moments of Behemoth on here when it came down to like the ultra fast sections. But then you get to the closing track, the big one at over 7 minutes, King in the Mountain. Dissonant melody into triplet chugs before it unleashes blackened blast beats, but with some of the more black metal dissonant riffs, kind of like something you would hear from Mayhem or Darkthrone even perhaps. And then it turns slow and doomy, and there's lots of murky atmosphere. And then when the song kind of sounds like it simmers down with 2 minutes to go, suddenly it becomes like straight up black metal, very much like Mayhem, I would say. And that's how we end it. So the production, it's quite cavernous, quite murky sounding, and the mastering done by Colin Marston from Gorguts. So, yeah, the production definitely serves its purpose in terms of just sounding evil and murky and cavernous with a solid mix. Like, again, you can hear the bass at certain points on this album showcase a little flourish. As far as any negatives, I will say it's like this album, like really the middle track, that interlude track, Eternal Return, could have just been cut away. But if I were to think of any complaint at all, it's like, yeah, they do occasionally throw in some like doomy parts, but I would have loved to have heard some more standout groove sections, whereas a lot of the times this album is just going foot in the gas, doesn't slow down a whole lot, apart from, I would say, like the beginning of Moon Vessel, Light Runs Through Light, even that doomy break there, and then King in the Mountain. Like, it was more doom-laden rather than groovy, but that's just me. But overall, this was, I thought, a pretty good album, to say the very least. I will also give this one a 3 out of 5. It's a good album, good offering, nothing a whole lot to complain about other than just maybe could have slowed some parts even further down on here and maybe cut out the middle song. But that's just me. And that's just my opinion. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.